Hey guys, this is Marco here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Kingdom Hearts 3, a much anticipated game, not just for a lot of people, but also for me. I'm about 7.5 hours in, and I'd like to let you guys know what I think about it so far, and my initial impressions on it. Let's get to it. Let's start with the graphics, the visuals of the game. How exactly does it measure up in my opinion? Well, there's something I definitely can't deny. It's definitely a really pretty game. Now, don't judge the game completely by this video. I just used the built-in base PS4 recording software in the PS4 itself that only records the game in 720p. So you won't be able to fully appreciate the visuals on this game through my video. I highly recommend seeing Digital Foundry's video on its graphical performance. It'll be up in the top right corner if you're on mobile or on desktop, so you can check that out. I'll also put a link in the description. The game definitely features a lot of particle effects for water and glittering lights. I'll be sure to show some in the video. Definitely a very dazzling kind of visual style. If you really focus on somebody when they're close up in a scene, you'll be able to tell the texture of the leather or the cloth on their clothes. It's really nice to look at. And when it comes to the characters in the different Disney worlds, they no longer just look like licensed Disney video games that don't fully take advantage of the animation style of that particular movie. Look at this close-up of Buzz and just the texture of his materials, or the leather of Woody's hat, or just look at Pegasus. These guys nailed it. Something else I found really interesting was the transitions between cutscenes and gameplay. You'll go literally from a shot of the a shot of the character speaking, and then the camera will literally just twist onto gameplay. This really suggests that there's little to no pre-rendered cutscenes, which is really impressive. The graphics are so good now that we don't really need to have pre-rendered cutscenes anymore. Not to say there aren't in this game. The opening sequence is still all pre-rendered, which I feel like is almost in Kingdom Hearts tradition in this sense. But the graphics are definitely nothing to scoff at. However, I do need to mention the performance in terms of its graphics leaves a lot to be desired. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth into it, but just to make it really easy to understand, the frame rate, basically the frames per second that the game is being able to render while you're playing, ranges fully from 30 to 60 frames per second, which is such a huge range for the frames to be at. It really makes the gameplay somewhat choppy. It's not so bad that it feels unplayable, but to the trained eye, somebody who's really used to playing perhaps on PCs or playing a lot of 60 frames per second games, Overwatch being one of those games, you'll definitely be able to tell that there's not that much fluidness with a lot of the times when you're fighting a lot of Heartless at the same time, or especially when you call up an attraction like the pirate boat that just comes up with a whole bunch of water particle effects. And it becomes too much for the PS4 to handle. The water effects just become too much and the frame rate drops a lot. Something else that I found really disappointing was the resolution. I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3 on a base PS4 Slim. Check out my review on this in the corner of the video. I'll also put a link on it in the description. It plays at 900p, which honestly I find quite disappointing. I expect all my PS4 games to be at least at 1080p, 30 frames per second, because I'm willing to give off that give and take, lose frames per second in regards to its resolution. And I knew that there was something about playing Kingdom Hearts that it just wasn't as crisp as other games like God of War that I've played before on my PS4. So in terms of its graphical performance, not only is the resolution not as high as you expect for a PS4 in 2018, the frame rate is anything but stable. So that was a little disappointing, to be honest. Now, when it comes to the combat, while it's not as fluid as I remember Kingdom Hearts 2 being, even when I recently played it in the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Remix re-release, the combat is definitely really fun when it comes to all the new factors that it comes and the abilities that they bring to the table in this iteration. The biggest addition are the forms and the team attacks, and the Keyblade transformations and limits. Now, if you land enough combos, you can completely change your fighting style and weapon, which definitely changes the entire feeling of the fight and a lot of the flow. Now, I'm sure the die-hard Kingdom Hearts fans will remember drive forms from Kingdom Hearts 2. Those are those transformations you could use your drive gauge to just basically become a badass in a second or two. These forms are very similar, and again, I'm only 7.5 hours into the game, so I've only been able to try so many of them. But they definitely, again, bring a lot of spectacle. They change up the feeling of the game as you play and fight all these Heartless. So it definitely breaks any kind of monotony there would be if there wouldn't be any drive forms to be available all the time. Now when it comes to links, which are the new names for summons in this game, I haven't tried enough of them to give it a fair shake. I want to reserve judgment when it comes to those. Really, the only one I've tried was the one you get first, which is the Dream Eaters, and to be honest, that was really fucking stupid. Another addition when it comes to the combat and what makes it so diverse is attractions. It's another one of those triangle action events that you got really used to in Kingdom Hearts 2 that makes up the team attacks and the forms. These attractions are literally just excuses for Disney to put in their own Disney rides into the game as attacks, which, to be honest, when I first heard about those going into Kingdom Hearts 3, I thought it was gonna be really fucking stupid.
Oh no, Disney branding.
But no, man, these things are actually really freaking cool, especially when it comes to when you fight the Lava Titan in Hercules and you just bust out this humongous, colorful, dazzling roller coaster and shoot fireworks at the Titan. It's actually just a really big thrill. And again, it's just really beautiful. All the particle effects, I mean, this is basically one of the biggest things of this generation in console gaming. The little light spectacle effects, especially if you had this on 4K and HDR, you're sitting pretty, man. But overall, the combat I find definitely fun, definitely diverse in terms of its feeling and the forms and all the things you're able to take advantage of, especially when you go to different worlds and the different characters are able to have you take advantage of these different forms and different team attacks. It's just, it adds a lot of surprise and spectacle. The game does a really good job of adding these new forms in good amounts of time so that every maybe 10-15 minutes a new one comes in that you're able to use, and it adds another layer of surprise just when you're fighting, which is really refreshing. Now, when it comes to the music, which, I mean, to be honest, Kingdom Hearts, that's such a huge part of the experience, is just the epicness of the music and the orchestra and having it bring a lot of drama into a combat, especially when it comes to a big boss battle. A lot of the music in this game is recycled, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. All the music that's redone is redone quite well, and in my opinion, much better than in Kingdom Hearts 2.5, where a lot of the Kingdom Hearts 2 music was redone, but I didn't think a lot of it really nailed it that well. This one, not the case. The redone music is actually done amazingly. However, again, in 7.5 hours in, I haven't encountered that much original music. So far, I've only really experienced Olympus's music, the Toy Story music, which the normal music isn't that bad, but the combat, I felt it had a lot to be desired. And then there was one boss battle that happened in the Toy Box, which is the Toy Story world, that had an original score that really surprised me. It added a lot of drama and it was original, so that was good. So when it comes to original score music that's not based on Disney worlds, I've only encountered one, and it's been 7.5 hours in, so I really hope there's a lot more to come, but so far there hasn't been that much original music that I've encountered. Maybe they're trying to bank too much on nostalgia. I mean, again, I really love the music, especially from Kingdom Hearts 2, but you gotta bring some more to the table, man. Now, of course, gummy ships are back, but they are completely optional the way they present it, which is so great. I really didn't like having to partake in gummy ship treks and having to combat all these things that were coming at me. It was just a part of the experience I didn't really care for, so I really like the way they presented it. It's pretty optional. Basically what it is when you go into the world map and you actually start on a trek, I believe that's what it's called, it's a completely open space world, meaning you just choose and you have to trek in your own way to the world you want to get to and encounter anything you want to encounter. So getting to a new world and actually flying there, I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, isn't optional, but once you get there, you can fast travel, and any enemies that come your way are basically combat events, and they're completely optional, like I said. So you'll be able to see that there's a Heartless coming your way, and you can just choose to fly around it or in the other direction and not have to deal with any combat. And even just flying to a new world without any combat, it's a little relaxing. The gummy ships do, for some reason, still look like Lego Duplo, you know, that kids brand for kids so they don't choke on shit. And it doesn't really fit, in my opinion, in this game where the graphics are most of the time pretty beautiful, and then you just have the most generic looking geometric shapes and colors on your battleship. Maybe I'll get to unlock ones that look better in the future, but now it's just meh. Alrighty, let's get to the writing, which for me was my biggest concern going in. Because I mean, come on guys, let's be honest. The writing is definitely Kingdom Hearts' biggest massive flaw, to the point that it's really hard to introduce your friends into Kingdom Hearts because it's mandatory that you go watch a YouTube summary video on Kingdom Hearts that'll make all sense of this crazy nonsense to an extent. I mean, I don't hate Kingdom Hearts, I'm obviously a huge fan of it, but God, it's just so convoluted at this point, it's so bad. I put a link to a really good video summary, the best one I've come across. I really highly recommend it if you go take a listen, just to, get a good grasp of the story. It's a really good time. Now, at first, there is a Kingdom Hearts 2.9. Yes, I know, there's a 2.9 prologue that's about maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It's not ridiculously long. It's a lot of cutscenes, but it doesn't feel too long to me. And I actually really liked it. The characters reacted more realistically than they typically do. One of the things I don't really like is, characters can be too happy, too cheery, and unrealistically positive all the time. And it's not to say I'm against positivity, more the fact that it's just not a realistic way to react to unfortunate situations. The dialogue has in the past been really choppy. Somebody will say something suggesting that Organization 13's there, and it always takes a few seconds for Sora to, no, wait, that means that's an Organization 13 member.
Yeah, that's right.
Yuck, the organization person. Every single time, it just takes some, it's not necessary. And unfortunately, the majority, at least at this point where I'm at in the game, the majority of the dialogue has been like that. The dialogue mostly doesn't come off as natural. It just comes off as not scripted. It just doesn't, the flow isn't natural. Somebody will speak, and then there's a solid second for a reaction, and then it goes to the next person, and there's a solid second or two of reaction. Perhaps it's an old school Japanese RPG way of going about dialogue. But I mean, when it comes to Tetsuya Nomura, the director who directed this game, Final Fantasy 15 came off more natural, and that came out before this. Or maybe they didn't want to piss off a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans, so they just made the dialogue style mostly similar. But I'm honestly not too big of a fan. My standards for dialogue and story and voice acting are so high at this point, especially coming off of games like The Last of Us or God of War or Horizon. I expect a lot more when it comes to tugging at my emotional heartstrings and bringing about a story that brings a lot of stakes and emotion and loss, but realism. And at this point, it's just mostly typical Kingdom Hearts. Not at its worst. It's not as bad as the worst of Kingdom Hearts stories have been in the past. It's probably 70 to 80% the way I described the dialogue to be, and 30 to 20% actually not bad dialogue. In fact, this last hour that I just played in the Toy Story world, there was a point, I'm not trying to spoil too much, but there's a point where one of the main characters in the Toy Story world gets overtaken by the darkness and possessed and turns on the other characters. And then Goofy and Donald don't know how to react, and Sora's just somewhat of a bystander, not in a scared, cowardly way, but is a bystander, and just, you could tell he's trying to make a decision as to what to do next. And I'm not sure I have witnessed Sora in that lens of being vulnerable in that way, not knowing what to do when one of your close friends turns on you. Real betrayal happening in front of him, and him reacting in a way that I can actually see somebody reacting in the real world. So I'm not saying that 100% of this dialogue and story and writing is trash and that all of it is a pain to get through, but I'm gonna be brutally honest in saying that a lot of it is at this point of the game. I really hope that the rest of the game gets a lot better, and perhaps it's at least 50-50, but at this point, the writing has been underwhelming for me for a lot of it. So overall, I've definitely been surprised throughout playing the game. I feel like there's been a pretty good amount of polish, love, and care, and there's no question I want to keep playing the game. Unfortunately, the writing has just been a big pitfall, as I expected, honestly. But I'm hopeful that the writing will continue to improve as I keep playing, and I'll be sure to keep you guys updated as the next part of my review gets posted soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit the like button if you liked the video, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when my next video gets published. I shall see y'all in the next one.